Welcome to Black Entrepreneur Blueprint, the #1 podcast and resource for Black entrepreneurs. I'm your host, Jay Jones, and Black Entrepreneur Blueprint was created specifically to educate and inspire Black entrepreneurs to launch, build, and grow successful, sustainable businesses. Join us as we help build an economic power base in the worldwide Black community by building and supporting Black-owned businesses. If you're currently an entrepreneur or want to be an entrepreneur, you're invited to join us each and every week here at Black Entrepreneur Blueprint. Welcome to the BEB family and get ready to elevate your entrepreneur IQ. Welcome to the Black Entrepreneur Blueprint, episode number 433. I'm your host, Jay Jones, and today we have another outstanding and informative show in store for you. Today's show topic is, why does every other ethnicity get rich off of Black people? Why does every other ethnicity get rich off of Black people? And I'm going to add this to it. And why can't we create a self-sustained Black economy? So the unfortunate fact is, guys, that many other ethnicities use us as the American dream. So we become the super consumers and we consume all of the products and services that other people dangle in front of our face while ignoring our own. And today we're going to talk about, and I'm going to discuss and dissect why we unconsciously create that generational wealth for other ethnicities and what we need to do to start building generational wealth for our own. Now, before we get to today's content, guys, let me just share a few things with the BEB family. First and foremost, I want to welcome all first-time listeners to Black Entrepreneur Blueprint. Welcome to the BEB family. Please stick around until the end of today's broadcast, and I'm going to share all my social media contact information and resource links, such as the link to my latest book, A New Black Wall Street, Circulating the Black Dollar Worldwide by Building Successful E-Commerce Businesses, and also BEBacademy.com. Make sure you get the free 3-day access. Go to BEBacademy.com and you'll get free access to all the online resources, including master classes, online courses, PDF downloads to help you elevate your entrepreneur IQ. Go to BEBacademy.com. Now, let's get ready for today's episode. First off, please bear with me as I'm coming off of a cold here, so I'm a little stopped up and a little scratchy throat here. But what I want to focus on today, guys, is why does every other ethnicity get rich off of us Black folk? And it kind of goes back to last week's episode where I talked about entrepreneur lessons that you can learn from Kanye's interview on Drink Champs. So if you didn't listen to episode 432, make sure you go back and check that out. But subsequent to that interview, a lot of things have gone on with Ye, formerly known as Kanye West. So he loses that Adidas deal with the Yeezys, and then he tries to bust in the Skechers unannounced. And the crazy thing is Skechers was founded by two Jewish guys, and they summarily kicked him out of the office or whatever. And they said right up, we're not doing business with this guy. And the first thing that came to mind for me was, why do you even need Adidas or Skechers to sell your Yeezy brand? So you have a big enough name and a cachet, but let me preface this. Now, I know Kanye has said a lot of crazy stuff. He said some dumb stuff about George Floyd his neck not being kneeled on. He had the White Lives Matter t-shirt on, all kind of crazy stuff. And if he's going to alienate himself from the Jewish community, that's one thing. But the brother damn sure better not alienate himself from our community, the Black community, because we're the only ones that are going to support him. So back to the story. So once again, with Yeezy's brand and his visibility, he can actually sell the sneakers direct to consumer. And so all he has to do, the same manufacturer that manufactured the Yeezys for the Adidas partnership, he'll go to them or a competitor and say, look, these are the designs. I need you to manufacture these. Now, he won't be in stores, He won't be in the Adidas stores, but he can sell online direct to consumer. And you can look at many multi-million-dollar brands, billion-dollar brands that are direct to consumer. Just take, for example, his former sister-in-law, Kylie Jenner, with her beauty line. Okay, direct to consumer, sold on a Shopify platform, a modified Shopify platform. And she has the notoriety, she has the social media following to sell direct to consumer. And all you do is you manufacture, you get a fulfillment house that handles your shipping and fulfillment, and you're back in business. And so one of the things that made this topic come up was Adidas is making money off of you. Everybody that you're partnering with just dropped you, right? Creative arts agency, your attorneys dropped you. Your sports, matter of fact, you had a sports agency, Donda Sports Agency. People left you there. From there, a couple of stars left because of your anti-Semitic, quote unquote, remarks. So here's the thing. People been making money off of us for years, and we're going to discuss this. And then we're going to talk about how we can create a self-sustaining black economy. But the first thing I want to do, guys, is I want to lay a foundation. And this foundation, I want to look at the context of where we fit in, we as black people in society, and how we were brought here involuntarily and what this means to white folks. All right. So when we first got here, obviously, as slaves, we were an asset, right? Then when we became, quote unquote, free with the Emancipation Proclamation, we became a liability. Now we've become an asset again, and I'm going to explain this. So from a white person's or the white man's perspective, we come here as enslaved people, and we were an asset to white people because we provided free labor to build their wealth. And if you have free labor, you'd have to be an idiot not to be able to become wealthy. So we were an asset to white people. So you heard the term King Cotton, right? So cotton was damn near half of the gross domestic product of the U.S. And so people made generational wealth, though that old Southern money, from our labor, our free labor. So it was okay with white folks then because we were an asset to them. Then when Emancipation Proclamation hit and we became a liability to them, excuse me, and what happened is we started to compete for some of the jobs, especially in the building and trades and craftsman areas. So if you've ever been to Charleston, South Carolina, and this is not just Charleston, but a lot of cities in the South, and you see some of the great iron work on some of these homes down by the Battery. These are done by black craftsmen. The building trade, a lot of the building was done by the slaves. So we became a liability because we started competing with them after slavery for some of the work and the jobs. And so that's where the unions came in. So you see all these trade unions, electricians union, carpenters union. Those unions were created to keep black people from competing and getting jobs. You couldn't even join a union if you were black. You damn near can't get in a union now. So we were a liability to them. So the white society and systemic racism have to figure out, how can we make black people an asset again? Okay, how can we do this? So formal slavery was abolished, so they had to create another form of slavery to make us an asset again, right? And this type of slavery comes in the form of the prison industrial complex and also that of a super consumer. So we all know what the prison industrial complex is, right? That's where they lock us up, give us higher sentences for the same crimes that white people commit, don't allow us bail, or they give us higher bail. And now as inmates, that is a whole industry itself, the building of the prisons and the filling in of the prisons. And the crazy thing is, I can't remember if it was third grade or first grade, but based on the reading average of people in an area in first grade or third grade, they'll know where to build the prisons. So they already have this machinery, or system in place. They know that if education is low in, I'm just going to say Tupelo, Mississippi or wherever, that, okay, in 8 to 10 years, you got these kids in first grade that are reading at below level. There's going to be a lot of crime. So we better build a prison here. Okay, so now that prison industrial complex is an asset. How else can we make free black people an asset? The other way is consumerism. We've become super consumers. You've been brainwashed into thinking that designer clothing, fancy cars, spending money on dumb stuff like popping bottles is cool. But in all reality, all you just made yourself is an asset for somebody else to build generational wealth in the guise of being cool, in the guise of, I'm getting mine, getting that bag. So the system is looking at you as an asset to them again. And they're laughing at you because you're falling for it hand over fist. You don't even see it coming because you've been conditioned. Your mind isn't even your mind anymore. Remember, garbage in equals garbage out. And we're going to discuss and break this down. I'm going to give you a couple of quick examples. I'm on Instagram not too long ago, and I'm not going to mention this brother's name because I actually respect what he does. Excuse me, I had to grab some water here. I respect what he does, but this dude is in the Gucci store and he's talking about buying a $10,000 pair of Gucci shorts. Yeah, I'm gonna look good. I got, something coming up. I got an event coming up. What y'all think about these shorts? And I'm saying to myself, that's the dumbest, to me anyway. Even though you got the money, you over there spending $10,000 on shorts. And what is that really doing for you? Nothing. You're going to look good in them. You're going to wear them a couple times or whatever. And that's that. It's like putting money in the fireplace, starting your fire with $10,000. Then you got, speaking of Gucci, you got Jim Jones over here crying, talking about they not treating me right. I'm trying to spend 29 racks up in here. So you basically are begging somebody that doesn't want you in the store to take your money. You crying because you're not getting that champagne service right away. They're not treating you right, but yet you still walking around the store looking silly, trying to spend money with people that don't even want your money. It's another example. So then when you got more money in your closet and your driveway than you do in your savings account, you know you in trouble. You've been brainwashed. Okay? When I was in the mortgage business, me and my partners used to be like, damn, we see everybody's credit report. We could see your car note. We can see, your mortgage, if you had a current mortgage. And I'm like, some of these cars cost more than a house. What kind of nonsense is this? And so we've been brainwashed to become an asset again of our free will, to be an asset for every other ethnicity but us. Okay? So the crazy thing is, guys, and we're going to get into some of the solutions, but the crazy thing is real wealthy people, they're laughing at you. Okay? They're laughing at you. When I'm talking about wealthy, not rich. It's a difference. So why do you have to show that you have money? Okay? And the real issue is it's because it's more of a self-worth issue. So I get it. If you come from the mud and you never had anything, you're proud that you've made it, right? So you want to show it. But you don't really need to show it, because who are you proving that to? The people that need to know that you got money should know that. Everybody else don't need to know that you got money. You see, the wealthy people, they don't want you to know that they have money. They don't walk around like they got money. When I was a financial advisor, quote unquote stockbroker for Merrill Lynch, I had many multi-millionaire customers or clients. And a lot of them were white clients. And they pull up into the office. Now, it's funny. We be driving, not me personally, because I never was a big car guy. But we had a lot of brokers in there that were driving better cars than cats that had 150, $200 million. And we talking about in the early 90s, mid 90s. And they coming up and they driving up in a Ford or a Chevy. One of my biggest clients, I've talked about this on the show, he owned a hanger manufacturing company. He manufactured wooden hangers, steel hangers, and plastic hangers, and would sell them to major stores like Macy's and all the big retail department stores, worth over 50, 60 million dollars. Actually, he had about $80 million just in my account. He had another account at another brokerage firm, but he had about $80 million. Excuse me. He actually used to drive a Ford, forgot the name of it was one of the bigger Ford cars. Nothing fancy at all. His house, nothing crazy at all. Millions of dollars in his investment account. And you would never know if you saw him in the street how much money he had. He wasn't about looking good. It was about being good. See, a lot of us have it all messed up. We want to look the part when we're really not the part. Whereas wealthy people, they don't care what it looks like because they got it. All right. So they don't have to front because they know they got it. They can go in their back pocket and buy a freaking BMW with their credit card if they wanted to, or Benz or whatever. They don't have to show it because they know they got it. And that's the difference. You know, in the movie American Gangster with Denzel, and I'm paraphrasing, there was a scene in there where I think it was his cousin came into the room looking like a pimp. And Denzel said the loudest person in the room is the weakest person in the room. Because all you're doing is exposing yourself and you're putting yourself out there for people to look at it and investigate. And the crazy thing about it, people always talk about, Frank Lucas and Nicky Barnes, right? So when you talk about the drug kingpins in New York back in the 60s and 70s, back in that era, the person that you don't hear about was bigger than both of them. And his name was Frank Matthews. Look it up. Frank Matthews, not Frank Lucas, not Nicky Barnes. Nicky Barnes was out there, New Yorker magazine flashing. You knew he had to go down. They had to sit his monkey behind down because he's out there, once again, the loudest person is the weakest person. Then you got Frank Lucas out there. But Frank Matthews was the man. And we don't know what happened to Frank Matthews. He disappeared. So he probably got killed or something like that. But go look up Frank Matthews. And the reason you don't hear about him because he handled his business and he wasn't out there trying to show how much money he had. He was just getting it in. And I don't condone any of that, but that's what I'm talking about. He was handling his business and was much bigger than Frank Lucas and Nicky Barnes. Frank Matthews is the man. Look him up. So, once again, you don't have to show everything that you got. All right. Next thing I want to talk about is, everybody's making money off of us. Everybody. All right. I can't think of one ethnicity that ain't building generational wealth off of us, right? So, for example, right? So you can't wait to spend your money when you get a little bit of coin, you get your fake ass PPP loan that you might be going to jail for. Remember some of them fools out there thinking that they're going to be able to get these PPP loans with false documentation. They're out there buying all of this stuff, flossing, flying private jets and all of that stuff. That's great. Buying designer clothes. So when you go out there, you get your little bit of money and you start buying your designer handbags, your shoes and your Versace shirts and all of that. You making the Italians, Europeans and the French, these fashion houses, you making them rich, right? Now, fast forward, you go around the corner store, you live in North Philly or wherever you live, and you go grab something to eat, right, in your neighborhood. You probably going to an Asian-owned store, an Indian-owned store. They're extracting money out of our neighborhood off of our backs, taking it right out of there, okay? You go out there, you get a little bit of money or you think you got a little bit of money. You want to buy you a foreign whip, right? So you're going to get you a Benz, you're going to get an Audi, BMW, whatever. You can't even afford the damn tune-ups. But the Germans and Italians are making money off of you buying these cars that you can't afford. So stop trying to look good and be good. Everybody else is making money off of us because we're a super consumer. All we think about is consumption. When we get it, we got to spend it. When I was little, my mom used to say, don't let the money burn a hole in your pocket, meaning don't spend it as soon as you get it. You got to be smart with it and understand money is a tool. So you can take money and spend it on garbage, or you can take that money to make money. That's what I always tell people. You get a lump sum of money, and I get it. Some people's philosophy is I'm going to pay off all of my bills and I'm good. Or you can say, you know what? I'm going to take this money, pay off some of my bills. Then I'm going to take the other part of the money and I'm going to make money off of that. So these are some of the things that we have to think about. Now, it's funny because I want to give you a personal example of this. So years ago, my daughter was probably a sophomore in college, my oldest daughter. And so she was going to be doing an internship in New York City that summer. So I had to find her an apartment to live in. So one of my best friends and my attorney lives in Brooklyn. So I hit him up and I was like, yo, man, can you help me find a spot for Taylor? And so he hooked me up with a realtor and we found a spot. So I was driving up to Brooklyn to meet him to check out the spot. And when I pulled up, he was like, yo, man, what's up, man? I thought you'd be pushing something bigger than that. Right. And now between my wife and I, we have 4 cars, and not that they're 4 new cars. We hold on to cars till they're about 10 years old. And I'm not a car person. You know, I like a nice car, but I'm not going to be breaking the bank to buy no $100,000 car. And the car that I pulled up in was my wife's old Nissan Altima. I figure I'm driving in New York City and I didn't want to bring my truck. So I have, at the time, I had a Acura MDX truck, pretty new truck. And so I'm like, yeah, man, I got 2 kids in college. All right. And I'm not trying to look good. I'm trying to be good. And at the time, we weren't getting like hardly any loans for the girls. So all of that money, and they went to high priced colleges. All of that money's coming out of Hip Pocket National. And so once again, it's all about your priorities and where you're going to spend your money. Now, I do like a decent, nice, every time I buy a car or a new car, I buy something decent. I don't even buy it new. I buy it certified pre-owned. Right. And so that's my thing. I'm not really super big in the cars. Now I got a nice house. And basically, so when my wife and I transition, my kids can either sell it or if anybody wants to move in. But, we're talking about downsizing ourselves. We don't need this size house anymore with my kids out of the crib. And so it's all about, guys, it's about being smart and being fiscally smart and building generational wealth for yourself and our community. And so what I want to talk about now, guys, is the solutions. So the first thing is we have everything we need to create a generation of Black millionaires and billionaires. Everything we need, we have it. So we have the buying power, just us, $1.6 trillion. That's just in the United States of Black folks buying power. We have the brain power to create. We're one of the most creative and innovative people on the planet. All right. We have the business acumen and we have the platform. OK, we got social media, whatever. We have all of that. We also have the technology. So we have everything that we need to create the next generation of multimillionaires and billionaires. The question is, are we going to focus on that, or are we going to continue to keep making other ethnicities and create generational wealth but us? And once again, it's a Jedi mind trick, because all of the stuff we see, the media, the music, everything is, I gotta have this. If I don't have this type of clothing or shoes, then I ain't cool. And I get it. everybody's young. You don't want to have no Bobos on when people are wearing Nikes and you wearing a pair of Bobos that you got out the supermarket. We get that. All right. But you don't necessarily have to buy a pair of Ferragamos if you want dress shoes. You don't have to necessarily buy a Gucci bag if you need a new pocketbook. You don't necessarily have to buy a pair of Louboutins if you need a new pair of heels, right? Once again, we got black designers that have product just as good and or better than all of that stuff. Really examine the quality of it. I've seen people buy some of these, I forgot the name of this watch I saw, looked like a piece of plastic, and people were spending $20, $50, $100,000 on this nonsense. And it just amazes me what type of value that people put on garbage, right? And to me, I think Diddy said something about the watch on social media one time. It looked like a Swatch watch to me. It looked like garbage. But because it cost that amount of money, I'm going to go ahead and buy it. Man, come on, man. This is some of the dumbest stuff out here. But a lot of that is created by media and perception, especially now with social media. So everybody out there looks like they're a freaking multi-millionaire when they on their yachts. They out there cruising and drinking champagne in on a boat and all of this kind of stuff. Everybody's trying to look fabulous. Once again, I always talk about what it looks like and what it is. So I know people always talk about fake it till you make it. But yo, let's try to make it. All right. And if you got money and you're well off and you want to spend or spend money or whatever you want to call it, waste money on stuff like that, I get it. But if you can't pay your freaking electric bill next week and they about to shut you down and you got a closet full of designer clothes, you got a car outside that costs more than your house, or you're renting an apartment or whatever because you can't afford a home, then you got problems. You've been brainwashed. And we got to get away from that. You've been brainwashed also to think that black-owned businesses and black-produced products aren't as good as some of these other brands. And that's not something that just happenstance. It's systemic. Ever since we came here, remember, guys, we came as an asset to white people. We became a liability, and they found a way to turn you into another asset. Prison industrial complex and super consumer. Now, here's 7 things that we can do that can help change the dynamic right now. Number 1, we got to change our mindset, guys, from that of a consumer to a producer. So I always talk about what Black Entrepreneur Blueprint is about. It's about building and supporting black-owned businesses and building an economic power base by doing so. And once again, so change the mindset. We're always going to be a consumer. That's a given. So we need to be a consumer so we can buy food. We can buy clothing. We need shelter. So we'll always be a consumer. But we have to offset that consumerism by becoming a producer. So once again, in terms of producing, if you look at, say you go to your favorite Chinese food place, right? Corner store, whatever. One of the things that other ethnicities do is they stick together, right? That's a novel idea, huh, family? Sticking together and supporting each other. So when you go to that Chinese restaurant, where they get their food to prepare, they go to a Chinese distributor. Those chopsticks that they give you when you make your order, that's from a Chinese manufacturer. The cartons that you get the rice and stuff in, that's from a Chinese manufacturer. So the money that comes in there is going right back out into their community. They understand that. They understand the communal aspect of making money and creating generational wealth, right? So the unfortunate thing is we don't do that. And a lot of that could be because we don't have the manufacturers, the black manufacturers of the products or services. But one of the things that we can do, guys, is we can buy collectively. And so if you are a black store owner, right? Say you have a corner store. What the Asians do in Philadelphia and most other places, they have associations, buying associations, where they go in and they're able to buy product as a group. and that product cost is lower. So if you go to J. Jones's corner store and my wrap snacks cost 10 cents more than the Chinese store across the street, it's not that J. Jones is trying to get you. It's that I didn't buy in a co-op. I bought individually, so I didn't have the buying power to bring the price down per unit like the Asian co-op does. So once again, guys, we got to change our mindset from consumer to producer. We're all going to be consumers, but we have to balance that with producing. We need to start producing and selling our own. And the more you can control of the vertical, the better. Meaning from the manufacturing, distribution, the marketing, and the whole vertical. If you can do that, then you're really in control. And that's what Ye needs to do with his sneakers. He needs to control the manufacturing himself. He needs to control the distribution, and he can go direct to consumer. Number 2, and these are some of the things that we need to change. Number 2, we need to work together with other like-minded black people and organizations. We need to collaborate. It's not the crab in the barrel mentality. We need to collaborate. So if I'm doing something over here that has a synergy with another business or another organization over there, if we come together, we can collaborate and we all can grow. So, for example, something I talked to a couple other black podcasters about. So if I have a podcast that's popular and there's another black podcast that's popular, why don't we cross promote? Why don't we find about 4 or 5 black podcasts that are pretty popular and we cross promote all our shows to each individual audience? And now we're sharing audience and we're growing each individual audience. The white podcasters do this all the time. You'll hear them on each other's podcast in rotation. Smart Passive Income, EO Fire. I forgot. There's a couple others that they're all capitalism.com. There's a couple of them, about 4 or 5, that they're always on each other's show. And they're not scared about sharing or collaborating because they're all going to make more money. So number 2, work together with other like-minded black folk or organizations and collaborate. And what we're talking about today, guys, is why does every other ethnicity get rich off of black folk? And why can't we create a self-sustaining black economy? Number 3, change the messaging in our music, in our homes, and in our media to highlight positivity. So it's crazy. We're the only ethnicity that basically degrades ourselves in front of the world. So, and I get it, there's certain music out there, rap music and all that stuff, some of it, not all of it, but there needs to be a balance, guys. You got to balance out some of the dumb stuff, right? So I get it. Sometimes you just want to talk a little trash and have fun. It's all good. But if that's all you're listening to, if that's what you're putting in, that's what you're going to get out. So it's all about imagery, guys. It's all about what you soak up. So if all I'm looking at is garbage all day, us killing each other, robbing each other, shooting each other, acting all tough and acting like we all gangster and all that. And if that's all I see on TV and in real life, I'm going to think that's normal. That's not normal. That's not normal. Okay. So we need to change the messaging, and it starts at home, right? So there's something called parental guidance. And I get it. A lot of times we may come from a single parent household. We may be working 2 or 3 jobs. So it's hard not to, give kids access or block access to certain things. You got a cell phone. You got access to everything. I get it. But you need to be able to balance that out. OK, so you need to change the messaging in our music, the media, the narratives. That's why parents are so important. My mom always says something. That's why God gave children parents. Our job is to help guide you. OK, now sometimes our parents are jacked up and we may end up helping guide them. But that's a whole nother story. So we need to stop degrading ourselves in front of the world. OK, like I said, you don't see no Jewish people, no Jewish rappers on there talking about this, that, and the other thing. You don't see no Asian rappers talking about I'm going to blow your head off. You don't see no Indian rappers on there talking about, my hoes and bitches, excuse the French. You don't see that. And they let us do it. They don't let nobody else do it. The powers that be, the record companies, the media. But they'll let us do it because they're making money off of us. They're making money off of us degrading ourselves. Okay? They're making money off of it, and they're watching us and they're laughing. People around the world are like, what are they doing? Because the media and the messaging that they're getting from outside the country is controlled. I told y'all the story last week. My sister-in-law, one of her best friends, is from Australia. And 20 plus years ago, when she came to the United States, people were telling her over in Australia, don't mess with black people. They're dangerous. They're into drugs, murder. They're violent. Ba. And so until she actually met black people and started dealing with them, she found out the truth. But she said all the imagery over there was from the music and negative media. And that portrayal obviously paints a picture of who we are and what we are worldwide. And so the reason we're the most shitted on people is because of the media portrayal. And what we need to do is not to help that portrayal. So once again, number 3, change the messaging in our music, media, in our home. And I start highlighting some positivity. All right. Number, 3? Number 4, take control of our narrative by creating strong media platforms. So here's something else. We don't need to go on cable anymore. So Byron Allen, right? Everybody's familiar with the billionaire Byron Allen, who has all the Weather Channel and all of this stuff. He was suing Comcast and all these other cable companies to put his channels on their cable network. Well, guess what's happening to cable? People are cutting cords left and right. So like now I got YouTube TV. So I don't even have Direct TV or Xfinity anymore. I've been on YouTube TV for about 2 years right now. So now you can take control of the narrative by creating your own media platforms and uploading, creating an app. So you got everything you watch is on an app. You want to go to Hulu, that's an app. Netflix is an app. Peacock, that's an app. A&E Plus, whatever, it's all an app. Right? Amazon Prime, that's an app. So people are used to going on apps. So now you can bypass the cable companies and create your own platforms. I always talk about, if Oprah, Tyler Perry, Diddy, Dr. Dre, a lot of these high net worth individuals that are in the media space created a real channel or several channels, not channels that they just have their name on, like the OWN channel, which is not even owned totally by Oprah. I don't even know if she owns percentage she owns now. Revolt. A lot of that is BS, is just front. But I'm talking about real black owned media companies. So you can start creating the narrative and putting out the imagery and messaging that we need. All right. Number 5, build and support your own financial institutions that give us access to capital. Now, it's funny because one of the things that Ye said on Drink Champs was, he was like, yeah, Diddy said, we need to buy a bank. Yeah, you can do that. You can buy a bank. When you have those resources, you got options. Now, what you've been doing and the way you've been moving, you've been alienating not just the Jewish people, you've been alienating a lot of black folk, with the stuff that you're doing, but you have resources. So you have options. So we need to make sure that we can create and build and support our own financial institutions to give us access to capital. And it's funny, being in that space for years and still kind of dabbling in it, I've seen white guys, and women get capital and access to capital for funding for all kinds of BS that doesn't have in the industry called it's no legs, meaning it's nothing to stand on. There was an internet bubble. People were starting all of these companies really basically with just a business plan, getting millions of dollars of financing. That doesn't happen for us. So we have so many great ideas. Unfortunately, we lack the capital to put in play and to create these businesses because we don't have institutions that look out for us specifically. Now, if you're, well capitalized, it's funny, banks give money to people that don't really need the money. That's what they're in business for. They're going to give money to people that don't really need the money. But for somebody that really needs the money to build a business, you're probably not going to get it unless you're plugged in or connected or you have that collateral. All right. And last but not least, I believe this is number 6. Create learning centers to train and retrain our people for viable employment today and in the future. So not everybody is designed to be an entrepreneur. All right. It's great. If you are, but not everybody is built for that. But what I will tell you is this. Even if you're working corporate America, you need to have another source of income. It could be rental income. It could be a side hustle. It could be whatever it is. So you never want to be caught out there with only one source of income being a job. Because guess what? Soon as they don't need you, they're going to get rid of you. So we need to create platforms or portals. That's what BEBacademy.com is. Learning centers to train or retrain people for viable employment today, for learning how to be an entrepreneur and also the future. So I remember one of the dumbest things that Trump said, and that's hard because he said a whole lot of dumb stuff, that we're going to bring the coal industry back. Coal has been gone. It's the dumbest thing I ever heard. What he should have said is we're going to retrain these coal miners to be viable, to get viable employment now and in the future. So you're looking at some of the tech jobs and tech space, coding, cybersecurity, things of that nature. Excuse me. So even if you're not a black entrepreneur, you need to be able to sustain yourself and take care of yourself with a job. So we need the money to continue to circulate. So as an entrepreneur, you have the ability as your company grows to hire people, right? People, it's a fact, hire people that they're comfortable and familiar with. And so when you go into the Asian restaurant, guess who's working in there? People that look like them that they're comfortable with. And there's nothing wrong with that. When you go to the Indian restaurant, guess who's working in there? People that look like them and they're comfortable with. When you go to the black business, guess who's working in there? People who look like us and people that we're comfortable with. So when I had my mortgage business, I gave people an opportunity to get into the mortgage industry that wouldn't have gotten an opportunity somewhere else, because I know, understand, and recognize all we need is an opportunity. And once we get an opportunity, we're going to show and prove. We've done it since the beginning of time. That's why they lock us out of a lot of these places, because they know when we come in, we're going to eventually take it over. So they're cool when we're entertaining them. We're playing sports for them, running around chasing the ball or singing or dancing for them. They're cool with that. But when it comes to business, that's another reason why they letting Kanye know, or Ye, they're letting Ye know, yo, you may have money, but you still don't have all the control. And so when you can divest yourself of being beholden to somebody else, that's when you're in true control. That's why Sway said this to Ye years ago on an interview. Why do you need Adidas? And Ye was like, well, Sway, what do you expect me to do? Even though Kanye is a smart dude, he don't understand a whole lot of things. You have everything that you need, just like we as black people have everything we need to come up out of this. You got the money. You go to China because that's where they're producing all of these sneakers. You go to China, you go somewhere else, and you start producing. If you really want to go large, guess what? You set up your own factory. You reverse engineer it. You go over there to China, see how they're doing it. Now, of course, you're not going to be able to produce at the low cost China does because of the wages. But if you really want to do something groundbreaking and revolutionary, then you bring back that manufacturing of the Yeezy sneakers to the United States and you start hiring black folk. You start creating that. You ever wonder why a lot of factories are in rural areas? And this really dawned on me in my previous life. If you ever listened to the podcast for a period of time, my first quote unquote real business when I left corporate America, one of my business partners and we had a condom business, right? And so black owned condom line. And one of the companies we used to manufacture our product was a company called Safetex. And they were based out in Virginia. We used a couple of them over the years. But it's funny. And I was like, we were going out to the plant to check out the production. And I was asking the plant manager, I'm like, damn, why are y'all out in the middle of nowhere? And he said, it's economics. He said, so we're in a small town where the jobs are not plentiful. So we can pay lower wages and get as many workers as we want. So Ye can use that same concept. Create your factory in a small town, southern town or wherever it's small, with black folk around, where we can give jobs to people and create a whole industry. And now you're creating the vertical or you're taking control of the vertical, you're managing it and you're producing it, and you're distributing and you're going direct to consumer. You want to take it even further. You can open your own stores, right? You can create your standalone Yeezy stores. You don't have to be in the Yeezy sneaker in the Adidas store or in Foot Locker. This is called vertical integration, okay? And he has the wherewithal to do it. If he opened a Yeezy store, I guarantee you, as long as he don't say nothing else super stupid, I guarantee you that he'll get support. He can put up standalone Yeezy stores with all his Yeezy gear and whatever else he's selling. You know what I mean? So Nip did it on a lower level with the Marathon store, right? All the stuff in there was his. So under his direction and his brand. Now he didn't manufacture per se, but that's the step that Ye can get to if he wants to. So those are some of the things, guys, that we really need to focus on to change this whole dynamic and stop letting everybody else make the American dream off of our back. It's been 500-600 years since it's been going on, and it just continues to happen because we've been brainwashed. Like I said, garbage in means garbage out. If you think you got to have a Mercedes-Benz and a Versace shirt on to be successful, then I feel sorry for you. If you got the money, that's one thing. But if you don't have the money, then you need to be smart. So we're talking about trying to create a self-sustaining black economy by building and supporting black-owned businesses. And it's about utilizing and weaponizing those dollars. And once again, start weaponizing those dollars to support black-owned businesses and industries. Stop giving your money away to people that don't care about you, that don't want you. And I always use the example of like this. So just imagine you're in the store and you're Jim Jones or whatever. Jim Jones goes, they finally give him service or whatever, and he gets his 29 racks worth of stuff. Jim Jones walks up to the Gucci checkout and he puts the stuff on the counter and he's like, they say here, $29,000. So they spit in his face. He pays the bill and he says, thank you very much. I'll be in next week. So that's basically what's happening. They don't want your money. They don't want you in there. They spit in your face and you still begging them to pay them money. That's the dumbest thing I ever heard in my life. If that happened to me in any store, I would never buy a damn thing out of that store again. Man, this is just crazy. But because people have been brainwashed that you got to have on Gucci, once again, it's a self-esteem issue. It's all right if you can afford it or whatever. But once again, if you got more money in your closet and in your driveway than you got in your bank account, then you better reevaluate. You better recognize and understand you're going down the wrong path. There's nothing wrong with having nice stuff, and some people may disagree with me, and that's all right. You don't have to agree with me, but I know what the hell I'm talking about. Because this is real life. This isn't a game. This isn't a game. What you think, where there's no money, other people in here and extracting money out of our community. They're in our neighborhoods taking all of the money out of the neighborhood, extracting the money out. I guarantee you, if you do a survey of the stores you go in and what ethnicity owns the stores, you're going to find very few black owned stores that you go in. And this is in any urban neighborhood that you go in. And I'm talking about just corner stores. We know all the big stores are these big box stores or corporate conglomerates and all of that stuff. We need to make a conscious effort, guys, to support black owned businesses. Everybody's shopping online, so there's no excuse. You can find black owned businesses online to support, especially it's Q4 now. This is a big buying time online. Start supporting black owned businesses. Before we close it on out, guys, make sure if you need the show notes, just go to blackentrepreneurblueprint.com. Bottom of every page, it'll say join us or show notes or newsletter, excuse me. Just sign up, and every Monday and Thursday morning, you'll get the show notes from the latest episode. So if there's something that you weren't able to write down, if you were out jogging, working out or whatever, not able to write the things down, the show notes have all the links and everything that I'm talking about. Also, in order to connect with me, I'm going to do this real quick. All right, go to the website, blackentrepreneurblueprint.com. We spend a lot of time and a lot of money on the site. If you want to connect with me, anything long, hit me on my email, jjones@blackentrepreneurblueprint.com, Facebook, Black Entrepreneur Blueprint, Twitter, jjones001, Instagram, I got 2 IG accounts. The first one is jjones4real, JAYJONES, the number 4, REAL. Second one is Black Entrepreneur Blueprint. YouTube, go to YouTube, type in Black Entrepreneur Blueprint, hit the subscribe button. We have additional content on YouTube that is not on the show. Anybody on Clubhouse, you can connect with me at I am J Jones, LinkedIn, J Jones, Black Entrepreneur Blueprint. All of my online courses, books, and everything, the ecosystem is at blackentrepreneurblueprint.com. Hit the Learn tab. We have all types of resources, free resources to help you elevate your entrepreneur IQ. We want blackentrepreneurblueprint.com to be the resource for black entrepreneurs. As we close out, guys, I say this each and every week, but I mean it. We couldn't do this without you, the BEB family. We get more and more downloads each and every week because of you guys. Thank you so much. Please continue to spread the word about the podcast, the ecosystem, the new blackentrepreneurblueprint.com website. Anything that you want to know about the ecosystem, online courses, contact information, resources, go to blackentrepreneurblueprint.com. If you want to take the shortcut, go to bebconnect.com. It'll take you to the same place. So as I always say, guys, it's not about me. It's not about you. It's about us. It's about building an economic power base in the worldwide black community by building and supporting black owned businesses. Love you guys. See you same time next week. Peace.